A kid with a basketball wants to know if his buddy is finished yet, but the guy is still scrambling to get his homework done. The basketball player is clearly not impressed with his friend's speed, so he calls off their game, using the freezing weather as an excuse. Leaning on his ball, he complains about the brutal cold front. The two friends share a laugh, making fun of the weird name for the weather pattern. But then the basketball player gets all serious, explaining the name's dark, poetic origin. He spins a tale about the sky getting jealous of flowers, so it sends a final, killing frost to wipe them out. His friend is baffled, asking where he heard such a strange story. He just smirks and says he read it in a book. Yeah, right. Then, he drops a chilling question about what fate might have in store for them. But before his friend can answer, the bell rings, shattering the moment. Lunch is over. The ominous question lingers. Why did they come for us? Back in the classroom, a weary teacher tries to keep an eye on everyone during self-study, while one student seems to be regretting his entire life's choices. Meanwhile, a girl is frantically rummaging through her desk. She tells Hong Jin that a photo she took has gone missing. This seems to spark a realization in him, just as the girl asks if someone by the name of Kim had stopped by, and it turns out the basketball player's name is Kim In. The girl immediately starts a scene, but the teacher cuts them off, scolding them for having a loud lover's quarrel in his classroom. Hong Jin just slumps in his chair, mortified. This was supposed to be just another boring school day, but a deep sense of unease creeps over him, a gut feeling that something was terribly wrong. Glancing out the window, his eyes lock onto something impossible. He tries to get the girl's attention, but she just brushes him off, annoyed. All he can do is point, speechless, at the bizarre pillars hanging in the sky. Suddenly, a blinding flash of white light floods the entire room. It vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving everyone dazed and utterly confused. The students groan, their minds reeling from the sudden sensory overload. Even the teacher is shaken, trying to calm everyone down while searching for a logical explanation. One kid sprints to the window, expecting the worst, but the sight that greets him on the field below defies all logic. A grotesque, fleshy monstrosity has torn its way out of the middle of the soccer field. Instantly, the rest of the class swarms the windows, because their usual high school drama has nothing on this. The teacher desperately tries to regain control, but it's useless, no one's listening. He fumbles for his phone, hoping to find answers or call for help, but nothing will send. Every line of communication has been severed. The students are still glued to the window, gawking at the thing outside and throwing out wild theories. Hong Jin watches them, a cold sweat breaking out as his dread intensifies. And that's when a new horror manifests, this time right inside the classroom. A small, perfectly black sphere hangs in the air, floating silently in the center of the room. Hong Jin and the girl next to him can only stare, completely dumbfounded. The teacher finally gives up on the class, telling them to stay put while he goes to check it out. Nearby, a girl named Kim Sujin is trembling uncontrollably, her hand shaking too violently to even hold a pen. Her classmate, Cho Junggu, asks if she's all right, but she can only shiver, her breath fogging up as she complains about a bone-chilling cold. The girl completely loses it, crying out for her mom in sheer terror. The commotion draws Hong Jin's attention, and he tries to quiet them down. Another student, Choi Jong-soo, attempts to help her up, suggesting they take her to the nurse's office. That's when he notices the black sphere is now hovering directly above the terrified girl's head. Kim Sujin looks up, and her face begins to contort into something utterly inhuman. He lets out a scream, stumbling back from the monstrous thing she's becoming. Everyone else whips around, finally seeing the orb and the horrifying transformation taking place. The girl's face starts to crack like dried mud, before her entire head splits wide open, revealing a nightmarish, gaping maw. Hong Jin is frozen solid, watching the last seconds of his normal life evaporate before his eyes. Cho Jong-soo collapses to the floor, his mind completely shutting down, unable to comprehend the horror. The teacher and the rest of the students are locked in a state of shared, silent terror. A grotesque, veiny limb slams down on a desk with a sickening crack. The thing that used to be Kim Sujin is now perched on top of the furniture like a predator. It emits a bizarre, guttural noise, repeating a single, alien-sounding word over and over. A suffocating fear paralyzes Hong Jin and his classmates. The dead silence is shattered only by the soft thud of a book hitting the floor. And then, as the shock wears off, the screaming starts. The classroom explodes into a panicked stampede for the door. So much for No Child Left Behind. In the pure chaos, students shove and trample each other, desperate to get out. A friend calls out to Hong Jin, his glasses knocked sideways on his face. Not far from him, a girl is on the floor, begging for help. Hong Jin rushes to her side, but she cries that her legs have just given out from fear. He grits his teeth as the grim reality of their situation crashes down on him. But the creature is still standing between them and the only way out. It suddenly lunges, cutting off their desperate path to freedom. The teacher is frantically trying to herd the remaining students toward the door. One boy makes a desperate run for it, only to be swatted down from out of nowhere. He looks up, his face a perfect mask of shock and utter disbelief. The monster is now blocking the doorway, its shadowy appendages snaking out. It's caught the boy, who lets out a blood-curdling scream of pure agony. His classmates can only watch, their faces drained of all color, paralyzed by terror. While the lucky few spill out into the chaotic hallway, the monster hoists its new victim high into the air, completely ignoring his desperate pleas for mercy. It holds him upside down as its strange alien chant echoes through the classroom. The boy is still begging for his life as he's lowered toward the creature's gaping maw. Hong Jin clutches the girl he tried to help, both of them trapped, forced to watch the unfolding nightmare. Hong Jin can only stare, his mind fracturing at the horrific sight. And just like that, The creature claims its first victim in a gruesome fashion. The black orb then descends, dripping a dark liquid onto the aftermath, as shadowy tendrils reach out to envelop and consume what's left. The creature raises the orb high, a gruesome prize from its first victim. It then settles back onto the desks, its bizarre task seemingly complete for the moment. Huddled beneath a desk, Hongjin desperately tries to quiet his classmates' terrified sobs. The monster's head whips around, its attention drawn by screams echoing from afar. The two students can only freeze in place, praying the beast doesn't see them. Another guttural roar rips from the monster's throat as it repeats that same alien word. It scans the classroom, seemingly looking for something it misplaced. Elsewhere, a student gripes about all the racket coming from upstairs. Over in the restroom, a couple of troublemakers shrug off the commotion as just another prank. Peering out the window, they spot the bizarre object on the field. The gray-haired one grins, daring his buddy to go touch it for a bit of cash. His friend immediately shuts that down, making it clear he's not about to risk his life for pocket change. The smoker just laughs it off, calling him a fool for actually being scared. He gazes at the fleshy mass outside, wondering aloud who could possibly be that stupid. He then turns back to his friend, a dark idea clearly forming in his mind. A nasty grin spreads across his face as he announces he's got a plan. Lying on the floor is another student, already beaten senseless, the perfect test subject. His friend asks if they're going to rough him up again, but the smoker has something else in mind. He claims he's found a way to satisfy his innocent curiosity. The beaten student, whose name is Chalman, is now stumbling across the field outside. He's been blindfolded and shoved in the direction of the creature, while the bullies watch from a window, yelling threats to keep him going. They laugh at his clumsy movements, filming the entire cruel spectacle on their phones. The friend, however, starts getting nervous, asking what they'll do if Chalman actually gets taken out. The blindfolded boy stumbles right up to the very edge of the fleshy mass. The smoker scoffs, pointing out that the thing isn't even moving. He's practically buzzing with excitement, telling his friend to just keep the camera rolling. Chalman comes to a halt just inches from the creature, his feet frozen on the grass. Clutching his ribs in agony, he gasps that he's too hurt to take another step. Despite the pain and the blindfold, Chalman steels himself. He reaches out a hand, figuring whatever this is has to be better than facing those bullies again. Back in the classroom, Hongjin and the girl are holding their breath. The classroom creature swivels its orb, and that strange, chanting sound fills the air again. It repeats the alien word, still searching, and the color instantly drains from Hongjin's face. He knows. They've been discovered. The thing moves with an eerie silence, gliding over the desks directly toward their hiding spot. He screams at her to run, but she's completely frozen in terror. The monster lunges forward, a blur of shadowy limbs and raw power. Its grip shatters a wooden desk as it launches itself through the air, crashing down with devastating force right where they were hiding. The impact obliterates the wall behind them, sending shrapnel everywhere. Hongjin can only stare, his eyes wide with disbelief. He glances back into the settling dust, somehow unharmed. He pleads with his classmate to get up and run, but she's still locked in place. All she can do is sob, crying out for her mom in utter despair. Hongjin realizes with a sickening dread that the fear has completely broken her. A sudden sound snaps his attention away, his heart hammering against his ribs. The creature's head appears over a nearby desk, its gaze locked directly on them. A terrible thought flashes through his mind. A choice has to be made. The girl just keeps crying, lost in a nightmare she can't escape. In a gut-wrenching, split-second decision, Hongjin bolts, leaving her behind. She looks up from her weeping, her cries dying in her throat as the monster looms over its new, helpless prey. Her terror peaks in a single blood-curdling scream. At that exact moment, a teacher storms in, baseball bat in hand, clearly annoyed by all the noise. He starts yelling at the students, completely unaware of the true horror in the room. The students behind him can only point and shriek at the scene unfolding. Just as the teacher reaches for his phone, a shadowy tendril whips out and strikes him down. He looks on in stunned disbelief as his own arm is severed and sent flying across the room. The creature crouches atop the desks, a silent and terrifying predator. Meanwhile, the girl Hongjin abandoned is caught in a paralyzing vortex of pure terror. Her vision blurs to red as she screams for anyone to help her. A single thought echoes in her mind. I don't want to die. Just then, a hand clamps onto her wrist, yanking her back from the brink. It's Hongjin. He's come back, grumbling that she's heavier than she looks. She asks where he ran off to, and he gives the lamest excuse ever. He had to use the bathroom. In the background, the teacher's heroic charge ends with the clatter of a dropped bat. For a moment, the creature's attention shifts from the students. It casually tosses the teacher's lifeless body out into the hall. The monster then resumes scanning the room, its true purpose still a terrifying unknown. Then it starts to move again, its steps unnervingly silent on the linoleum floor. It makes a beeline for a storage cabinet in the corner of the room. Inside, Hongjin and his classmate are crammed together, praying they've gone unnoticed. She immediately accuses him of ditching her, an accusation he doesn't bother to deny. They bicker in frantic whispers about who should peek outside, but despite the argument, the girl manages a quiet thank you. She admits that she genuinely thought she was about to die. Hongjin looks away, ashamed of his cowardice, but she presses him, asking if he really just left her there to be monster food. He tries to quiet her down, but she's not finished calling him out on it. He makes a desperate promise to buy her snacks, a debt she vows to collect on every single day. He tries to defend himself, arguing that he's the hero since he came back and saved her. But right outside their cabinet, a monstrous hand slowly creeps into view. As they debate if it's safe to look, They have no idea that the creature is literally waiting for them on the other side of the door. Hongjin's hand trembles as he prepares to open the cabinet. Cracking the door just a sliver, he and the girl freeze in pure terror. The creature is staring directly back at them, its bizarre chant a low, menacing hum. A monstrous hand looms over their hiding spot. As its fingers wrap around the cabinet door, the guy knows it's over. His mind races, trapped in the darkness with nothing but his regrets. But then, an unnatural silence falls. He peers through the crack again, and the monster is gone. He can't believe his eyes, frantically scanning the room for any trace of the beast. A flicker of hope ignites maybe it actually left. His hand shakes as he listens, hearing only a welcome silence. But that hope is instantly crushed as a familiar, guttural chant echoes from just beyond the door. The girl completely loses it, screaming as the creature's voice envelops them. He joins her, crying out for it all to be over. So much for their narrow escape. Outside, the school seems peaceful against a clear blue sky, until a massive explosion tears through the wall of a third-floor classroom. Down on the field, a boy named Chelman takes a shaky step forward. Blindfolded and hurting, he reaches out toward the pulsating mass. His fingers make contact with its strange, leathery skin, and he recoils as dark tendrils begin to writhe across its surface. Watching from above, the bullies erupt in laughter, thrilled that he actually went through with it. The boy stands alone, a helpless pawn in their cruel game, as the gray-haired bully tells his friend to get ready for the grand finale. He shouts down, taunting the blindfolded boy to take a look. When he doesn't immediately comply, the bully's impatience grows, but his jeers die in his throat as something else demands his attention. His eyes are fixed on the massive, smoking hole that just blew out the side of the school. The sound of the explosion startles the boy on the field, who flinches, completely disoriented. He looks up towards the building, sensing the violent shift in the air. In a flash, the monster from the classroom erupts from the ground right in front of him, sending his blindfold flying through the air. The bully can only stare, the smirk wiped clean from his face as he mutters, "They're done for." From another window, other students watch the nightmare unfold as the fleshy mound on the field splits open like a grotesque mouth. One of the onlookers points, realizing someone is down there. The students gasp, spotting a lone figure on the field as they crowd the window, wondering what kind of idiot would be out there. They watch in morbid fascination as the boy actually makes contact with the thing, but their curiosity instantly curdles into pure horror. A single drop of sweat rolls down a face, a perfect picture of absolute terror. Their horror is justified, as a new nightmare appears right outside their window, the classroom monster, having just crashed through the school's outer wall. Down on the field, Chelman flinches, completely oblivious to the doom descending upon him. He can only ask what's going on, blind to his own grim fate. The creature lands with devastating force right on the spot where he was standing, and the onlookers can only shrink back from the horrific spectacle. Their faces are a mixture of shock and utter disbelief as the monster lets out a triumphant, terrifying roar. Panic explodes as students scream for help that isn't coming, its chilling cries echoing across the school grounds. Even the bullies realize their prank has gone catastrophically wrong. Back in the destroyed classroom, amid the rubble and dust, Hongjin and the girl sit in the wreckage, somehow still in one piece. The girl finally breaks down, completely overwhelmed by the terror. He just stares at the gaping hole where the wall once stood, confirming that the monster is gone from the room because it's now out on the field. He cautiously looks over the ledge, down at the school grounds below. But something isn't right. The creature is completely motionless. Elsewhere, the rest of the school has erupted into total chaos. His classmate asks what they're supposed to do now. She begs him to run, to get out of there before the monster comes back. But he's frozen, struck by the realization that there's nowhere safe left to run. She starts to suggest they go outside, but the words catch in her throat. The monster on the field is now holding what's left of a human being. They both see the horrifying truth. Going outside means certain death. A student watches the panic stampede, wondering where everyone could possibly be going. Hongjin remarks that they're not thinking, just running on pure instinct. Suddenly, a new voice cuts through the chaos as a familiar face appears. It's their friend, Kim In, who calmly advises them not to bother trying their phones. A shocked Hongjin demands to know what he's doing here. The girl explains that their friend was worried about them, before asking him about the monster outside. Hongjin tries to get him to focus on the immediate danger. The girl, however, presses their friend for an answer about the phones. He just holds up his own device, showing them that nothing is getting through. The guy demands to know why, but their friend doesn't have any answers. They all look out at the field, wondering if the creature is somehow jamming the signal. The newcomer suggests they find a secure place and just wait for the authorities to show up. She asks if he has a specific place in mind, and so begins the classic survival debate: the cafeteria, the auditorium, or the rooftop. The three of them stand in the wreckage, already at a total stalemate. Kim In thinks their ideas are insane, but they feel the exact same way about his. Hongjin tries to take charge, but his plan gets shot down immediately. Cutting through the argument, the newcomer gets serious. He tells them to start preparing for the worst-case scenario. He argues that they need to secure a food source, while they're still debating how long they might be trapped. But Hongjin gestures to the destroyed wall, insisting that a sturdy shelter has to be the top priority. But their friend isn't interested in just hiding. He has a completely different priority. The girl argues back, saying their only focus should be on getting rescued as soon as possible. She insists that in a disaster of this scale, a rescue team is guaranteed to come. Ian confidently agrees, predicting a chopper will show up within the hour. He lays out the simple logic. A disaster of this magnitude guarantees an immediate response from the authorities. The reasoning clicks for Hongjin. The rooftop is their best bet. With a solid plan, they decide to make a break for it. But right as they're about to move, the girl suddenly falters. Hongjin manages to catch her, asking if she's all right. She tells him her legs have gone weak again, just like they did earlier. The delayed shock finally hits her, the adrenaline rush fading away. He asks if she can still walk, hoping their brief argument had distracted her from the terror. Her trembling hand clutches his sleeve for support, and she realizes she isn't the only one who's scared. Everyone else is just better at hiding it. Finding a new sense of determination, the girl insists she can make it on her own. They bolt from the destroyed classroom, the field outside serving as a grim reminder of the danger. The three of them sprint up the stairs, their sights set on the roof. Suddenly, the girl wonders if the rooftop door is even unlocked, a fantastic time to consider that. She calls Ian out for making a plan without thinking through the simplest details. He just shrugs it off, confident he can force it open if he has to. Ian seems to have a sudden thought, but quickly denies something about smoking. Fortunately for the group, the door is already unlocked and cracked open. He grabs the handle, steeling himself for what's next, to face whatever lies on the other side. He shoves the door open, leading his friends into what they hoped would be a safe haven, but the roof is already packed with other surviving students. The bullies from the bathroom are among them, and they immediately spot Ian's crew. Other kids are huddled in groups, their faces masks of fear and confusion. It dawns on Hongjin that they weren't the only ones who thought of the helicopter escape plan. His classmate points out the obvious. Everyone looks petrified. No kidding. But then Ian freezes in place, a curse slipping from his lips as he stares into the distance, muttering that they are all royally doomed. The others immediately demand to know what's wrong. He turns to them, his face grim, and delivers the terrible news. The rescue team isn't coming. With a trembling hand, he points towards the city skyline. He tells them to look closer at what's waiting for them out there. Perched on a distant rooftop, another one of those grotesque monsters sits in silence. The horrifying reality of their situation begins to sink in. This catastrophe isn't just confined to their school. The realization crushes Ian, and he collapses to the ground. He wonders aloud where all the adults have gone, feeling completely and utterly abandoned. His gaze then falls on another student, shivering on the ground nearby. The gray-haired bully is on his knees, screaming in confusion. Far below, the monster from the classroom now stands ominously on top of another building. A couple of other students on the roof just stare, unable to believe the impossible sight. A kid with glasses lets out a gasp, his mind refusing to process what he's witnessing. One student remarks that it's gotten much quieter than it was before. The boy in glasses just repeats the word chaos, a cold sweat forming on his forehead as he stares at a nearby building with a massive hole torn in its side. Through the hole, they can see a man lying motionless on the floor of a wrecked office. A monstrous hand then reaches through the broken window, grabbing the body by the head. Its intentions are sickeningly clear. The creature starts to drag its prize out of the building, pulling the man away until there's nothing left but a dark stain. The student watching grips the rooftop railing, his face turning pale as the horror of their new world dawns on him. He realizes that if the whole city is like this, their homes and families are probably gone, too. A blonde girl calls out to Hongjin, her voice filled with desperation, asking if they're going to be okay. All they can do is stare out at the ruined city, wondering why this is happening. The terrifying question hangs in the air. Is this just their city? Or is the entire world ending? Their thoughts are shattered when the gray-haired bully interrupts, telling them to shut up with their nonsense. He snarls that the situation is bad enough without all their whining. Hongjin and the girl are taken aback by his sudden, aggressive outburst. The bully then grabs the girl by her hair, threatening to use her as bait for the monsters. She struggles in his grasp while Hongjin watches in shock. A cruel smirk plays on the bully's face as he savors their terror. He then smacks her hard across the face, sending her stumbling backward. Hongjin's eyes go wide, stunned by the pointless cruelty. The girl crumples to the ground, holding her stinging cheek. She looks up, dazed and confused, unable to process what just happened. The bully stands over her, acting like she was somehow the one at fault. Hongjin immediately steps in to shield her, telling the guy to back off. The bully cracks his knuckles, mocking Hongjin for trying to play the hero for his friends. Hongjin is completely tongue-tied, at a loss for words. From the ground, the girl weakly tells the bully to stop, but it's no use. Just then, another female student steps up, calling the whole display ridiculous. The bully scoffs, brushing her off as some freshman nobody. She retorts, asking why he needs to act like a tough guy at a time like this. He snaps back, asking if she wants to end up like that kid down on the field. He then turns his attention to Ian, taunting him with a smirk and daring him to step into the fight. Hongjin and his friend can only look on, knowing this is the worst possible time for a fight. Our protagonist is completely overwhelmed, his head spinning from all the chaos. Meanwhile, the other students just watch the drama unfold, because of course they do. But then, something new appears in the sky, a small, black orb. The moment Hongjin sees it, his blood runs cold. He recognizes that sphere, and a sickening sense of dread washes over him. His mind flashes back to the horror in the classroom, to Kim Sujin's gruesome transformation. A cold sweat breaks out on his face as the memory floods back. The orb just hangs there in the sky, a silent and terrifying omen of what's to come. He desperately screams at his friends, telling them to get up and run for their lives. The lead bully, however, is completely unfazed, smugly asking who said they could leave. Hongjin shouts back that someone on this roof is about to transform into a monster. A chilling new tension electrifies the rooftop standoff. The girl in the hoodie freezes, stunned by his frantic warning. While the bullies just laugh it off as a ridiculous joke, the look on Ian's face tells a much darker story. The fear in his friend's eyes is making him a believer. Then, Hongjin drops the bombshell. The monster they saw on the field was their classmate, Kim Soo-jen. That's all the confirmation Ian needs before he bolts. Hong Jin and another classmate scramble after him, promising they'll explain everything later. The hooded girl, sensing the real danger, decides to trust them and makes a move to escape, but the gray-haired bully steps in her way, stopping her cold. He flashes a sinister grin, making it crystal clear that she's not going anywhere. As the bully's grip tightens on her, a sudden, blood-curdling scream rips through the air, shattering the tense confrontation. The other students just stare, bewildered by the chaos erupting around them. A boy on his knees begins to contort, his eyes turning pitch black as he mutters an eerie chant. Hong Jin screams at the top of his lungs, pleading for everyone to run. He curses under his breath as his survival instincts go into overdrive. He and another student make a desperate dash for the door, but it's already too late. Ian glances back, his expression a perfect picture of raw, unfiltered shock. Even the bullies are frozen in place, their tough guy facades completely shattered. A grotesque, veiny appendage has slammed down, blocking their only way out. It crashes down with sickening force, crushing the student standing right next to Ian. The newly morphed monster looms over its first casualty. A nearby student can only whisper the horrifying reality over and over: they're all dead. Ian is completely catatonic, deaf, and blind to the pandemonium around him. Hong Jin screams his name again, trying to shock his friend back to reality. Without waiting for a response, he bolts for the exit himself, and the rooftop explodes into absolute mayhem. So much for a calm and orderly escape. Ian stumbles backward, his mind reeling and unable to process the nightmare unfolding. He turns, calling out for Hong Jin, who's already at the door, screaming for him to hurry. But Ian can only watch in horror as a shadowy limb whips through the doorway. He cries out his friend's name, the word choked with terror, as Hong Jin is violently thrown through the air, slamming hard against the rooftop fence. The monster pivots, a dark, whip-like tendril sprouting from its back. Hong Jin crumples to the ground, desperately gasping for air. He grits his teeth against the searing pain, convinced his life is over. The creature now turns its attention to Ian and another terrified girl, its massive maw gaping wide open.